Holy shit. Hello and welcome to the Warframe tier list. Today we'll be going over Valkyr. First things first, let's go into the build. So Valkyr is pretty straightforward. There are two separate build variations. You either want to run a armor strip build with her, which this is the pillage build. This build needs to reach 328% strength to full strip in one cast of pillage, which we are reaching from having Molt Augmented giving us 60%, pushing us to 298, and Madurai giving us a further 40% ability strength, pushing us to 338, 10% above the required number to full strip the enemies in one cast of pillage. The reason why we only need 328% strength to full strip with pillage instead of the normal 400% is because I have corrosive projection slotted. This lowers the strength required to full strip with pillage from 400 to 328. You could forma her one more time to slot prime flow, or you could slot anything else here because I did do a run with just an empty slot here and this sustain was completely fine. But I would slot flow just for comfort. The second armor strip build is Terrify. I didn't try it, however, I do think it would be completely fine. The only issue is this build would have worse sustain because Terrify costs 75 versus Pillage is 50. So you might have to run like an Archon shard here for extra sustain, I'm not sure. And then the final build is Silence. The reason that you might want to run the Silence build, well, first off, this build is just super simple. It's like a 1 or 2 forma build. Because you can run all 3 of these mods completely unranked. You do not need Energize for sustain. In fact, the Arcanes really don't do anything at all. Because you don't need Molt Augmented, because you're not trying to reach a strength threshold. Fury will give you more damage than Molt Augmented. And since you don't need Energize, you may as well use Avenger, since Avenger can proc while you're in your 4. Another thing, with the Pillage build, you might be looking at the range and duration and thinking, oh, well, you're not going to be armor stripping anything with that because the range is too low. This is a common misconception that I see people have a lot, and I will show you here. As you can see, we are pretty far away from those enemies, and when you cast Pillage, it reaches. They get armor stripped. That is 46 meters away, and we are still armor stripping them. So that is all for the 3 primary builds. These gladiator mods, by the way, do work on your exalted talents, which is why I have them slotted. As for the rest of the kit, your secondary does not matter at all. It is completely useless, and the primary is also 99% useless. I would just suggest running something that can one-shot acolytes, because how you die is Valkyr is, of course, violence, silencing you, and killing you, which, by the way, is why the silence build is so good, because if you silence violence, he cannot cast silence to silence you. So you do want a primary weapon to deal with violence whenever you're not running the silence build. We are running primary dexterity, just so that it's pre-stacked, since the Talon kills will stack dexterity. As for the secondary, like I said, it's completely useless, so you will never use it. And for the melee weapon, I suggest the Praetos. However, there are some caveats. So you want to use the Praetos for the 20% sprint speed and the 20% slide speed, and more importantly, the 30% parkour velocity. This 30% parkour velocity is important because how you deal damage as Valkyr is you do sliding melee attacks. A sliding melee attack as Valkyr does 4 times the damage of her entire neutral combo, and just 1 slide attack, and it's also more AoE. So you really want the parkour velocity, that way you slide and do your attacks quicker. The problem is, there is a bug with Valkyr, where if you have combo with your normal melee weapon, when the combo runs out, your combo on your exalted weapon will get deleted, and you cannot refresh it other than by deactivating your 4 and recasting it and rebuilding the combo up from scratch. This is extremely annoying, And with the Praetos, you have to make sure you do not have the evolution that gives you initial combo or the evolution that gives you combo on ammo pickup. Both of those will delete your Talon combo, and you'll have to constantly deactivate your 4 and reactivate it. As for the Praetos build itself, it doesn't matter. All you want is the 3 Gladiator mods equipped to give you a further 360% crit chance on your Talons. As for the Talon builds themselves, they are also super straightforward. I tried a Bane here instead of Prime Pressure Point, and it was significantly worse damage. If you're running an Armor Strip build, run Viral. If you're running the Silence build, run Corrosive. Also, if you're running the Silence build, you might want to run Unaro instead of Madurai. That way you still have an Armor Strip with Caustic Strike. And now the final part is, of course, the Cat, and it's just a standard Panzered build with the Synth mods equipped. You actually do not need the Synth mods equipped on this build, so feel free to slot either Link Armor, Link Shields, Pack Leader, anything here to make it tankier, or you can just simply leave the Synth mods equipped. Alright, now moving on to the ranking portions of the video, we will be discussing Valkyr in relation to 4 topics. Firstly, her KPM, secondly, her survivability, thirdly, her viability in the different game modes, and finally, how fun she is to play. This data is sampled from a 1-hour solo Steel Path Mott run with no Spectres and no on-call. Now moving on to the first topic, her KPM. Her KPM, put simply, really shocked me. I wasn't expecting a pure melee frame with absolutely no AoE to have good KPM. However, in the right circumstances, i.e. the right room layout, she can actually do very good KPM pretty consistently. Even with Silence, the Silence build, it's not bad, but it's not great, but I will be judging her based on the Pillage build, as I believe it is the better build. As long as you have a constant stream of enemies, her KPM will be fine. The problem is they have to be clumped up and they can't be spread out, which means you just have to find the right room, but under the right circumstances, you can get over 100 KPM very reliably, and it scales forever as you're running Pillage. You have an Armor Strip. So I have to give her KPM an S-. Now, moving on to survivability. Put simply, she's invincible, so, you know, there's that. However, when violence spawns, you just instantly die if you don't instantly kill him or get away in time to kill him with your gun. So that's really bad, and it's not like other frames where that happens, where you have like 2 seconds to survive because of shield gating. With Valkyr, you die. You do not pass go, do not collect $200, like, you just die. So that's really bad. And also nullifiers do the same thing, so if you accidentally get nullified, you can randomly die. So I have to give her survivability an S-, despite her being quite literally invincible. With Silence, she would get S+ for survivability, as she is invincible versus the Acolytes. But again, I'm judging her based on Pillage because I think it is the better of the 2 builds. So I will go with the S- survivability. Now, moving on to the third topic, which is her viability. And this is where people are going to start hating me. The problem with Valkyr is, although in the right circumstances she can do good KPM, and she is borderline invincible, she's not actually good for anything. So her KPM relies on enemies grouping up and being clumped together. So she's not good for exterminates or like general missions. She's just like very well below average, because any other frame can just pick up a gun and use AoEs, or you can just be an AoE frame. Sure, you can say, oh, but just use guns on Valkyr, but at that point, why play Valkyr? So her general use isn't good. In defense, she's not good. In interception, she's just okay. Disruption, she's terrible at, because the demos will purge her 4 and she'll just instantly die. but in survival, she's okay. The problem, even in survival, is if there's multiple people, how you play Valkyr is by running back and forth between rooms. So you will be diluting the spawns. You and your teammates will be diluting the spawns as they'll probably be in a different room from you. And if you run into an adjacent room, then you're just diluting the spawns. So your KPM is going to go down. And not only that, since your KPM goes down, your sustain goes down. And if your sustain goes down, then that means that your survivability goes down. So she's not spectacular. What I will say for her viability is she's super simple and she's really good if you're new to the game or new to Steel Path and you just need a frame that is strong enough to carry you through the missions and to also kill the acolytes. So for that, she gets a giant thumbs up, but for everything else, she's just below average. It's not average or below average, no, it's just she's below average. So I will have to give her viability a flat C, and it's entirely carried by her being good for newer players. Now, moving on to the final topic, which again, people are going to hate me for this. This is her fun, and of course this is subjective, but I do have some very strong reasons for my arguments, or for my rankings. So, I'm just going to put simply, I think her fun is a D-. That seems harsh, but I will explain why very quickly. So, in all of my time playing Warframe, and other games for that matter, out of all of the 1 hour missions I've done, out of all of the level cap runs I've done, I've never once had to take a break mid-run because of hand pain. And playing Valkyr, twice in 3 1 hour runs, I had to pause and take a break because either my hand was hurting or my wrist was literally numb from running around spamming melee and spamming slide. It is not fun, and it is definitely not good for your wrists. It might be fine on a controller, but on keyboard and mouse, it is definitely not good. On top of that, you're fighting with all of the different bugs with your combo, so if you ever accidentally build combo on your melee weapon, then you just have to, your damage just plummets to 0, then you have to recache your 4, rebuild combo. It's just annoying. And you may be thinking, oh, but that doesn't happen that often. Well, it does. Anytime you accidentally nullify yourself from a nullifier bubble, or violence does it, and you're spamming melee, because that's all you're doing, you're just going to instantly build combo with a Praetos when your 4 gets deactivated. So if you're against Corrupted, or if you're against Corpus, the bug happens all the time. It is so frustrating, it is so annoying, it legitimately just made me never want to play her again. And I've never felt that way about a frame, other than like maybe Geyer. So that, and coupled with the fact that it also legitimately made my hands hurt, I cannot give her fun higher than a D-. In conclusion, Valkyr is a B- tier Warframe, who is great for newer players, but is riddled with very annoying and frustrating bugs and causes genuine discomfort to play.